Hello, my name is Savannah Birch, and I'm a senior animal science major. Today I'm going to talk about finding the best prevention strategy to antibiotic resistance within the agricultural world. To start, antibiotic resistance is whenever a bacteria forms a resistance to an antibiotic. This happens whenever a bacteria is exposed to an antibiotic in low doses over long periods of time. It creates the perfect environment for a bacteria to form a resistance. In the agriculture world, non-therapeutic use of antibiotics is heavily used, is very frequent and used very much. And non-therapeutic use is when they give antibiotics over low doses over long periods of time to promote weight gain, overall performance, and just overall health instead of basically treatment purposes. And like we said, low doses over long periods of time increases antibiotic resistance. So antibiotic resistance can be transferred three ways: through the environment, through direct contact, and eating animal byproducts. This is why it's important for the agriculture world to hinder antibiotic resistance from furthering, because if the agriculture world is increasing antibiotic resistance by overusing antibiotics, and it can be transferred to humans, then we need to find a way to prevent the antibiotic resistance that's rising in the agriculture world. I have researched 3 solutions to help prevent antibiotic resistance, and they are using antibiotic alternatives, promoting awareness of proper antibiotic use, and restricting non-therapeutic use of antibiotics. I have evaluated each of these solutions based upon 3 criteria: cost, effectiveness, and ease of implementation. Cost: we want it to cost less for the consumer so that they'll actually use it instead of antibiotics. Effectiveness: we want it to be effective in preventing antibiotic resistance. And ease of implementation: we want it to be easy for the consumer to apply so that they'll actually do it. The first solution, using antibiotic alternatives, did not meet any of the criteria. It was more expensive than using antibiotics because it's not as effective as antibiotics, and using antibiotic alternatives can be using plant extracts, probiotics, vaccines, health management practices. These things are all good and promote health, but they can't stand alone. They're normally paired with antibiotics or with another alternative. So using antibiotic alternatives would be more expensive because you'd have to use more of it or pair it with something else. It's not extremely effective compared to antibiotics, and it wouldn't be likely to be applied because consumers won't want to use it because it's not cheap or effective. The second solution, promoting awareness of proper antibiotic use, met all 3 requirements. It was cost effective. If consumers learn to use proper use of antibiotics, they'll be using antibiotics more judiciously, which probably means they'll be using less, so it'll cost them less. And then it'll be effective because using less antibiotics stops bacteria from forming a resistance because they're exposed less, and it's easy for the consumer to apply. The third solution, restricting antibiotic use, met only 3 of the requirements. It was somewhat effective. No, it's very effective, and it's somewhat easy to implement because the FDA and the government are likely to implement this, but it's very unfavorable in the consumer's eyes. But it's extremely expensive because consumers use non-therapeutic use antibiotics to prevent disease, and so if they don't have that, disease will flare up and then they'll be paying for treatment, which is much more expensive compared to preventing disease. In conclusion, I believe the best prevention strategy to fight antibiotic resistance is promoting awareness of proper antibiotic use because it fulfilled all the criteria the best. This solution could be applied by educational seminars, training sessions, and publicizing proper use through media.